welcome to you. Just to put things in perspective, this is our how-to sessions. We hold them Tuesdays and Wednesdays, open forum. You can pretty much ask any questions you have on the use of NowSite, beginner and elite. To keep it organized, what we ask is that you raise your hand. I bring you in. You can openly ask the question, I answer, and we all share in the knowledge gain. I also have Robert assisting me for the chat. If you do not want to come into the light, well, you can ask the questions. He will answer, and if need be, we will make it a topic of discussion. For the rest, as usual, everything that I cover or this recording, you'll be able to find on a series of links that I will share with you in the discussion. And all the content is made available also in our team environment. Sorry, I was looking up here. I'm improving a little bit my setup. So I have multiple screens. So I'll be looking maybe in a little bit of every direction. If you just see me, well, I usually look in every direction anyways when I talk. So we'll start by opening the floor for questions if you have any. We will start with that. If not, as usual, for those who are here, I'll go into a topic of conversation. At any point in time, you can time in and I'll answer. Go ahead, Keisha.
So I have a question. Is it possible on a single page on a website to say if somebody clicks this button, like if I have two registration dates, two event dates, if they
Mhm.
choose this date, they get one series of emails, and if they choose this date, they get a different series of emails?
No, unfortunately, all the forms that you will put on the page will lead to one capture form. However, you want to redirect because if you have two separate events with two separate conversations following that, it means that you also have two separate marketing assets, two landing page with these. So you would have the main hub with all the calendar buttons. And then as I click to, I would go to the specific event date, register for that newsletter or the steps to follow. So basically, you wouldn't do it on one asset, but across at least three assets in your case. The main hub for the conversation, offering basically the options and this, and then the call to action leading to the specific landing page. And at that point, they would start the opt-in process, respectively for the event date that they choose. Make sense?
Gotcha. That's what I was
Perfect.
hoping I didn't have to do.
Yeah, and don't forget to duplicate your
I
page
saw it.
to simplify.
Of course.
Exactly.
Literally,
Duplication.
I was going to duplicate that page. I was definitely not going to build it twice.
Perfect. It's actually the art behind this science. For those who are not familiar with what we are talking about, whenever you create a marketing asset, and if it's solid and the format is going to be repeated, then what you do is use the three dot, duplicate the asset, and then rebrand the conversation. Right. So it allows you to save a lot of time in the execution. All this actually lines me up or lines us all up for a conversation that I had planned today. It's great. First thing first, you will be able to find this document in our course content. Um, Instead of creating the videos, I went ahead with a little bit more documents. I found that it's easier to create course content than to actually create the video. I understand the interest that Arba has now to sell her videos because when you're putting a lot of time into that, it has a certain value. But it's also something that you can factor in into the value position. Spend basically 16 minutes or so absorbing X amount of knowledge condensed for you. That's the value of it. Now, you'll notice that the document is in two parts, right? The first part covers the understanding that we must have about our CRM. I had a couple of clients this year that came around the conversation, not necessarily knowing what they were doing, which prompted me to set up this conversation for today. First, before we dive into that, I think that the dashboard, the user interface is where it needs to be for now. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough to allow people to understand what they're doing now, right? So pretty straightforward in terms of value, in terms of information. You have a series of shortcuts here allowing to access different sections of the tools. The first one is meant to grow your social media presence. It gives you access basically to the surprise me. which allows you to generate posts using the AI. It goes into your business profile, your chat. We have discussed this. It's a quick way of generating content. We have the quick posts as well, right? In this case, you can bring in information, which is optimal. You can also have a few pointer discussion that if you want, and then you hit generate. This is straightforward. And then you have the make a post. This allows you to have a little bit more control or different option, I would say, around the content that you want to post. So you can create a caption with a post. Okay. You can also create or caption your own image. This is also where you will find the make it your own and the selfie tools. I recommend you all experience with it. For the walkthrough of these different tools, you also have it as part of the new letter setup in the My AI onboarding. There's a quick demonstration on the mechanics, right? Going back to the section, you now have generate leads. Right? It might create a little bit of confusion because you're still looking at the same post dynamics, except one major detail, the business profile. Okay, notice that in the previous tab, and you can actually toggle and switch between these two tabs now while you're inside the tool. The first one didn't mention the business profile. We're creating quick post, general posts, since people have also the inclination of wanting to create content without necessarily branding the conversation, right? The idea behind grow my social presence to generate leads is that when you're looking at generating lead, comes in the business profile. There is a business intent behind it, right? And that brings even more value to what we have been covering, the basic mechanics in creating our business profile, what it is we're offering, but who we're targeting, and how it is being offered should be part of this description. Remember, they also factor into the nav, right? Speaking of which, the last tab has to do with that. Note, you no longer have your nav on the top of the left-hand set of tools. It's now on the right. You can access it here, and your daily checklist is the next option. Okay, so this is how you would toggle between these features. The last quick access is turn leads in social media to lead, basically, and we have covered that. I'll go over that conversation as well in the navigation that we're about to do. For the rest, you have quick links here. Train my AI. It brings you basically to the avatar profile or sets it to be trained if you haven't. My chat brings you basically to your My Chat AI, which is a tool that you should be using. You have the business profile, which is where everything starts. This is where we anchor the business conversation. And we have basically, well, get NowSite for free if you're not in NowSite already. And you have the links here for the videos, the training calendar, AI chat to go into the AI services, and you have the live chat with our services, right? So straightforward. The little bit of confusion, I think, could have been around this section and the difference between what we meant by generating lead and factor in this business or product conversation. Good for everybody? Straightforward here. It gets a little bit of getting used to, but as you use the tool, it falls quickly in the mechanic of what you're doing. So for today, the contact, CRM. It's a term that we often hear. NowSite is considered often as a CRM. And as I said, people will mention that, maybe have not too much clarity around how or what it means. In simple terms, at least for me, and that can be challenged, CRM stands for client relationship management, right? Managing the interaction that you have with your prospect to come, turning them into client, tracking that evolution is part of our networking part of network marketing, right? How do you track these interactions? When it's one, two, three, four, five people, can get easy with your notebook or your mind, or but when it gets to be a volume of contact, and when you're doing this on rotation, it's important to understand how to find the tools and use them. So we're gonna go first for general navigation. So to get to the CRM or the contact tab, right? Because it's about contacts, you're in here. The first tab is my contact, right? This is where every contact across the platform, across list, ends up. If you're looking at permanently deleting a contact, this is where it happens. If the contacts are part of a list and you delete the list, well, you have only deleted the list. Everything about your contact information remains here, right? Here you can filter, so you can search by filtering them by name, for example. There are certain simple search criteria as the name. You can basically look at a period of time. If you were actively, for example, prospecting or naving, I should say, during a period of time, and you want to bring back the whole of these contacts to track the evolution of these interactions since then this is where you would come to, right? Again, you can also filter by contact list. And the last step is really applying basically the filter. And what it will do is will pull basically that contact from the database. Note over the years, I played around with my own information, and you can see that I have different version of my, right? Uh, Note, this only is possible because each time I change a piece of the information. Otherwise, it would have kept on updating the same profile, right? These are things that I've done across different lists. And we'll get to the client profile information. This is the last part of the conversation, the most important one. Go ahead, Keisha.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, if I put my own name on 12 different sites, it will still only show me one time, but it'll be on different lists, but only once in
Exactly.
contact. Gotcha.
Exactly. If the information does not change across the board, here I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and come back. I'll answer your question right after that. I'll finish with what I just put forward. You'll notice that each client's profile has a set of lists. So if the information doesn't change, all I will do is appear across list. This is actually how you track the opt-in from one list to another from one client. Go ahead, Tina.
I hope this is a good segue into this. I was going to ask you, are we able, like I have a lot of lists just through
Mm-hmm.
trial and error, but I'd like to take a lot of those lists and combine them into two. Am I able to grab a list and say I want it to be in this list?
Up to now, it's not an option yet. And that brings us definitely to the next part, the list. I'm going
Okay.
to jump and I'll come back. With the list, you only have a set of options that are determined here, right? So if what you're looking is not part of this, you can't do it. Okay, so it's a little tedious in that regards. You would have, if you want to start gathering specific clients that you have acquired across the years, then you would have to do it manually. Another option, I would say, if you haven't acquired them from the platform, meaning the prospecting tool, download them, organize them on an Excel sheet, and bring them back up. This is also sometimes the easiest way to do so. You can filter, use the Excel tools to filter the list, reorganize it, pull out what you need from it, and then re-add it into that specific list or in the CRM. There was somebody that has had their hand raised. Was it Keisha? You had your hand raised? 1 minute.
Yeah, I was
Question?
going to say, if from inside of contacts, can you not move to a specific list?
Yeah,
So if you have a,
absolutely.
yeah, but that
Yeah,
would still be one by one. So I get what you're saying.
yeah.
That's why I put my
It would
hand
be
down.
one by one. Okay, so unfortunately, for now, we don't have a bulk process. Um, Most likely will come. I'm not making any promises, but let's keep that in mind. We're always evolving the tool. I'm going to go back to the contact section because there's something that I wanted to cover before we segue into the next conversation, which is good as well because it's preparing you for what is coming. So you can add manually from this point. Since this is where every contact ends up before you decide to move them across your list, you can see here. So I can have a contact across many lists if I want to, or none. Okay. And note when in doubt and when you want to confirm the order in which you want to organize your Excel documents, go ahead, Bob. We'll time in and then we'll come out. Go ahead.
Any way of alphabetizing on the contacts list?
Not yet.
Okay.
We cannot organize because the idea around the contact list is centered around date of acquisition mainly. So these are why I haven't seen those unless I'm mistaken. Could have been some update that I missed. Go ahead, Kim.
I'm gonna take the honor since Tina won't ask the question. Um, where is folders for lists? Is that on the list or is that still not on the list?
Folders for list. Oh, yeah. Whatever is in the ether, I can never, and I will never confirm because I can't tell if it is there or when it will be made available. I always will look at the question and consider what could be the workaround. What would you want to have multiple folders or folders for multiple lists?
Because you have multiple business. I mean, same thing with the websites, right? Same thing, folders for multiple websites for different businesses, where it's
Okay.
easier to find things, right? Instead of
Well,
yeah.
in that regard, what I would say is that the contact list is actually that folder for all those websites. Because one, when you create a marketing asset, it automatically generates a list here. So your contacts, as per that business or that interest, will already be in that. If you have multiple assets uh, on across that business conversation, it falls back a little bit to what we were discussing at the beginning with Keisha, right? I have a main asset that leads to different opt-in lists, so different lists. So if I have a main list and have different contacts that are responding to different stage of my business, then they would have marketing assets, or I would manually create lists that I could move them, right? So you have the options here, creating, importing, and
or
exporting.
or or maybe perhaps being able to pull those lists based on business profile. You know, like if I click
Yes.
business profile and all the lists that are attached to that business profile, I'll live with that.
Most likely, this is something to come again. I'm
Yeah.
putting it in the ether. Why am I saying that? Because the business profile is taking a lot of space with the nav and such. The list, again, were not necessarily initially created with the business profile in mind, rather, the website. The list, as it is, are part of your CRM. Technically, what is happening within the client's profile would allow you to put to terms most of the question that we're discussing here. That's the last part because what happens when this information is in is what basically gives, I think, most of our answers, strategy, or option. Go ahead, Howard. I'll come back to you, Kim.
No problem.
Yeah, so looking for a way to search through the lists. Like, I mean, I've got 20 plus pages of lists and I have a contact pop up. I want to add them to a list. Then I have to search through 20 pages of lists to find the list. Like
That I
we're
would
a,
say
we're a,
would
so- we're a software company. We should be able to put something there where we can start typing part of a name of a list and have the list start to pop up.
Okay, definitely sorting the list and having a search engine for that sort would be important, but would be something that we could make use of. But the question for me would come back, or the answer, or the workaround, as I say, that I would offer in this conversation would be the end result of that search. You're going into these lists, not searching for the list name, but for a specific individual in those lists that you want to move across the list, as I understood correctly.
No,
And that,
no, I've got
no,
a contact
one
and
contact,
I'm
okay?
talking, then I say, okay, well, this contact I should add him to this list. Then
Okay,
I've got to go
perfect.
through 20 pages of lists to find the list,
Well, this is
which is the
basically,
real problem. And so
it,
there's only 24 hours in a day, Virgil. And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
I could spend hours sifting through 20 pages of lists for 10 contacts. Like, I mean, it's
Well,
unbelievable.
let me just give you the workaround here because there's
Okay?
2 point of reference here that I'm picking on, right? The name of the contact and the list that I want to take him out or put him in,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And this is basically, I think, what we covered coming in, answering that question. We're not going through the search option of the list, but since the end result is finding that person and addressing where they are in the list, we would start back in the contact where everybody is regarding of the list, regardless of the list. We would basically filter by name, right? First, last
Sure.
name,
Understand
course,
that, yeah?
that would bring basically that profile in. In this case, there's
Sure.
multiple of me. But then when you expand the profile, because here I have this profile, you see here,
Yep.
first, we discussed the list option here.
Yep.
So you have the option of moving them to the list. Of course, it becomes the idea of sorting to those, but this is a lot more easier to pinpoint your list than to search it through the list
Yeah, you
tab
don't,
here.
Virgil, you don't do it.
Sorry?
You don't do it. If you would be doing it all the time, you would have a search there so we could just zip through the list and find the list. But sometimes my list is on page 18 and I got to scroll through 18 pages of frickin' lists to be able to tag the contact into that list. Now, if you're not doing that, and if you have no lists, it's not a big deal.
Well, okay,
Understand that.
not definitely understand the fact that it is taking part of your time, and also that is definitely is an improvement that we should note of. I think whenever these things are requested in mass, we tend to adapt more sooner than later. But again, just to put things in perspective, as you can see, I have more than 18 lists here. All right. And sorting through these lists and moving this contact around,
Hey,
I
Virgil,
think,
Virgil,
yes.
I've got 18 pages or more than 18 pages of lists.
Okay.
I don't have
Are
8
you
lists. I have more
okay?
than 18 pages of lists.
Okay, I understand. And in that case, are you actively using all these pages of lists?
I mean, I've got 12,000 contacts in there, you know?
Because
Um,
remember, regardless of the lists, the contact remains. So I guess at one point, if you are not actively using all this list, going through a little of a cleanup would help until we make the improvement. That is the only workaround I would be able to offer. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your understanding. I know technology sometimes doesn't move as fast as we want, but we also have to appreciate the lips basically that it's helping us take. And I think having a tool like that to manage your conversation is definitely saving time overall. Go ahead, Robert. One time in.
I just want to add is somebody that goes to the Friday meetings, the way that I've seen this work is when we have something like this, if it's requested by enough people and there's a real want or need for it, then they'll focus
Mhm.
on that need. Not everybody, I will say this, Howard, too, and this isn't to offend you because this is the way that I'm told this as well. Not everybody has 18 pages of lists, right? Or not everybody has whatever the thing is that we bring up that the problem is. So we always have to think about the beginner user. But if enough people ask for it and request something, then you might see it come to fruition. Just wanted to look at
Absolutely.
that.
Yep. Enough requests will tip the scale in the favor of that update. And that is also an indication of an opportunity at maybe the way we use the tool to explore. Go ahead, Keisha.
Yeah, because they do listen to our
Yep,
members.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and some of the features I can definitely understand that, Blake, why they would only, because they do tailor to the beginner user, but this is one of those features where it could definitely not hurt the beginner user.
Well, you don't have to sell me on the idea.
Well,
No,
And
I say that to
understand
say
too, Bert.
because
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
the art of being able to be organized actually helps
yeah,
everybody. So
we
when it
get it.
comes to folders or setting a list or searches,
We totally get that. We just need to direct that to the right place, and this is not the right
absolutely.
place.
And
understood.
also to time in on what you have said, Keisha, I think this is also a good opportunity because for people that are new to the business, organization doesn't start later on. It starts at the beginning. So understand the impact of what you're doing. Because, for example, Howard, your situation is not uncommon. Why? Because we have had people going to certain frenzy in creating website without necessarily intending to use them. And that does impact the CRM and the quantity of lists that you're having, right? So it's a good exercise often enough because remember, when we're involved in our activity, we're not just visiting this once in a while. We're here on a regular basis. We're interacting with our general list, our conversion list, our retention list, our clients, managing a relationship on a regular basis. So these updates, these good habits are things that we want to include right away. Definitely for those who have been with us with the beginning, since the beginning, you're suffering from a certain impact. And technological improvements often enough will force you to recycle yourself. And this is basically one of the things that you're unfortunately going to have to do, but it's also part of the learning process.
Yeah, Virgil,
So,
I bring it up to you because I think you got these guys here. And
oh,
also,
you give me a
another
little
thing,
bit so too much credit about
also another
everything.
thing about lists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I figured, okay, maybe I'll just try to delete some of these. Well, say I got a website and I delete the list, I don't seem to be able to get it back. It's gone.
Uh,
Well, I can't
I
have
will.
that list again.
No,
And
I will. I will confirm. I will correct that. One of the things that is actually very complicated to do is delete a list that is connected to a website. Often enough, it will force you to acknowledge that, and you won't be able to proceed. However, if that happens, and I've seen this happen, I'm not sure how it was possible. When the form on the website generates a new contact, it will automatically regenerate the list. Okay, so if you are able by one mean or another to delete a list that is connected, and I will actually go to the list part. This is where we are going next. As you can see, this list is connected to a website. If I go to it, I cannot, oh, actually I can delete that one. Oh, well, if I can test it, if I do resubmit it, we'll do it here. Let me just check it out. So I have here no impact to it since it's on my general contact. I'm going to delete this. That they actually added that. So because often enough you wouldn't be able to delete it. I'm going to come back. I most likely have this one as already an acronym here. I wasn't expecting such a series of conversation around the CRM. I believe it's actually a topic that we did need to cover. So that's a good thing. It will fill our days for tomorrow as well. Okay. So here I completed the process. It brought me back to the CRM because the course leads you basically to joining in the course if you don't have it already. And just refresh it here. We'll give it some time. It's gonna refresh. Go ahead, Breezy. Go ahead, Breezy. You have a question? Oh, you're still muted, so I cannot hear you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I did catch one word that that was misspelled. I just wanted to bring it out to you so you would know that I think it should have been optimized. It was missing the letter P.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll go back and correct that.
Yeah, I just,
Thank you for that. It's on the course library, right? The course library.
yeah, you just showed it. You just showed it. And I didn't want anybody else to come along
Thank you.
and see that. Yeah, sex.
Oh, yeah. Optimize. I'm missing my P here. Optimize. I wonder if that's a word. But thank you for that. Go ahead, Arba. I'll correct it.
I think what you're trying to show, I think I did that mistake before,
Mm-hmm.
where, well, here's what I was going to say, is I think that the lists are only created when you do a profile, a new profile and a new website. So I think what you're trying to show is that you're thinking that that list is going to appear again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I made that mistake and realized that, like what you're talking about, those ones with the date on them, like go down to one of the lists that have the date, like digital card course, and it has a date. I think those are the ones you can't
Oh,
delete.
yeah.
Oh no, it looks like
Yeah.
you can delete that too. But anyway, I think what
But
you're
yeah, no,
trying
no,
to
you
show,
were right on the track that these are linked to the website. But however, the list, I just want to correct that, are not linked to the business profile. They always have been linked to the marketing assets of the website that you're creating. Okay, by
right,
default, yeah, by default, those came before. And the way the tool is set up in that direction has not changed. These are directly linked basically to the list. This is
right,
why you're
correct.
able this
But
is
it's
why
a
you're
new
able to connect.
one. It's only
Sorry?
if you create a new one. And so you deleted that list And then you were thinking that if you submitted a new contact, it would recreate the list. Is that
Mhm.
what you were thinking?
Yeah.
Right. I think I made that mistake, and I think the list is only created with a new website.
Okay. I would have to come back here because this is something that was since the beginning and not basically because, for example, as we're discussing right now, if you accidentally delete that list, well, the marketing asset could be lost. Unless they made a change recently to that, this was us always in place. Am I mistaken,
No,
Robert?
I agree. I agree that I wanted to delete a list and I couldn't because it was connected with the asset, like you're saying. But I'm agreeing that I think now it's that you can delete the list, which is not good.
Mhm.
Yeah, because now it's gone.
Yeah. Maybe it's taking a little
But
time
did
to
you lose your
process. I'll come back. Go
contact
ahead.
though, Virgil?
Oh, hey. Yeah. Let me use a new contact.
No, I'm
I think
saying,
that would.
did you lose any contacts from deleting that list
No, no,
though?
no, no, no. Absolutely not. Remember that the
Right,
contacts, the list, deleting the list has no effect on the contact itself because these were the contacts that were in.
right.
Okay. I just realized something here. Let me just go back and test it because falling back to what I said, I am in the platform in a number of combination and I most likely didn't register as a new contact. Slight difference, but big thing. Okay. Let me try here. I'm going to try one of my secret names there. I'm going to go travel on you guys. So I doubt that I have that one as an acronym into the platform. Oh, please I'll put it right. And that would explain why also I didn't register on the platform as a new acquisition. Slight omission. Go ahead, Keisha.
If you create a new list, though,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you create, like, if you go to your name in the contacts and create a new list, can you attach that list to the website to an existing asset?
Um,
Because if you're in contacts, you can create a new list in there.
you, yeah, you can create a new list. Creating the new list doesn't necessarily allow you to connect it to a contact form. It only allows you to make it part of the CRM. Sorry, the email tool, but not necessarily assigning it to the contact of your choice. We just because well, yeah, it's only from the because here this is what we're basically saying. If I deleted the list and I create a new one and I have a marketing asset with a contact form, right? So that marketing asset would still be here. Oh, but no, I wouldn't have the list here. But the list would appear. No. And this is why I'm very intrigued because first, you can't delete the list. And when you delete the list, it comes back. Let me just, at least that's what I was sure of. Hmm.
I've never been
Okay.
able to get it back. So if you can get it back, all the power to you. But once I deleted it, it's gone, baby.
Hmm.
And I agree that it used to be that you couldn't delete it.
Yeah. You couldn't delete it and it would come back if, because I saw it myself. So let me see.
Because I know
Mm,
I had a list that I wanted to delete because just like you were saying, you could be playing around creating new websites. And whenever you create a new website with the contact form, it'll automatically create the list. And I didn't want that website or the list, but I couldn't delete it.
Let me
So
try this
now you
workaround
can.
here. Let me try this here. Because we did take a deep action on the list by doing so. Let me try this again here. What I was troubleshooting is the fact that since we deleted the list being connected to the contact form, we might have interfered with this asset. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a new form in place, saving it, testing it to see the result of it, and see. I am part of my. I'm surprised. Just go back if the action first resetting the list came through. No. Okay. Okay, definitely we're at a deadlock for that one. Of course, what I thought was is no longer the case. I'm just going to follow up with support and see if there is a workaround. Hmm. just go back to email here as well. Okay. So definitely, uh, good thing we troubleshoot that. It's a no-go. Do not delete your lists, especially if they're connected to a website, because as it stands, I stand corrected by all evidence. You delete, you lose it, and there's no way to get it back, at least for now. Go ahead, Keisha.
Could you get it back if you rename the website? Like if you duplicated the site?
Oh,
Because what
that
I've
could be.
done is I have renamed the site by one letter, duplicated the site, and then deleted the previous, and then you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Give it the name that I
deleting.
wanted. So that no,
Yeah.
because then I create the new site with because I renamed the old site that was connected to the list with something else, right? And then create duplicate that site and give that new site the old name. Would that create a list with that name?
That actually would be a genius workaround. Let me try that. What I did here is that I resaved the website, change slightly the name, resaved it, and let's see if that fools basically the system in generating a new list.
Yeah, if that doesn't fool the system, then by duplicating the site, you technically made a new site. So therefore, there'll be a new list.
Here. When duplicating the website, it did. I was trying to see if just changing, if I understood correctly, before you duplicate and then you change the name, or you, because here, of course, having deleted the asset, if I come back and align the name with what it was, I'll get that list. But
Yeah, so by renaming it, that would be option one. If that didn't work,
work.
I renamed it so that when I create the new list, I can create the new list with the old name, which is the reason I originally renamed it. So it was a
Yeah.
twofer on the workaround.
Yeah, you get basically, yeah, that's great. That's a great advice in terms of getting the same list connected to the same asset. If you have deleted the list, duplicate the asset, rename it, delete the old one, and use the new one as a reference. That would be the workaround, correct?
Yes. Because
Yeah,
then
so
when you
that
go
would
to your contacts, I'm assuming you didn't do one with like 1,000 names in it. You can literally highlight all the names and move the list.
be the perfect workaround. I'm going to do it right now, for example. What did we name? Okay, so come back to the website here. I already renamed the asset, so I actually freed the sorry, actually freed the old URL, so I can just grab it here. Actually, I didn't even need I didn't need it, so I'm just gonna go back here because it gives me a number, and I want this same URL back. And of course, you make sure that everything lines up here, and it will get us back the list. I'm gonna, well, same asset. I'll leave it be for now. I'm most likely going to rework it and see if there is a way. And that basically will definitely address our issue in the list here, renaming the asset. So it's a workaround of getting the name back, the list back. Again, the most important thing is the website content by which they come. So that asset will be there with this workaround. If ever you have deleted the list, that would be a course of action to follow. Thank you for the workaround, and I apologize for for leading you down the wrong track. I guess I should have tested that part of my session before putting it forward. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay, so does the name stay on the main? Now that you deleted that list, though, is the name still under my contacts? Are those names
Yes,
still
yes,
in
yes,
your
yes,
CRM?
yes.
Yes.
The contacts were not lost. Remember
So you
everything
would,
that we have.
so that means to revive that, you would have to go in and know who was on that list, go into that particular contact and put them onto a different list.
List, yeah. Actually, I'm now intrigued because it did come through the acquisitions. Let me see in which list it went with no lists. Okay, yeah. So I was getting my submissions, but not basically having myself assigned to a specific list since the list was no longer available. So you are acquiring still, but there is a disconnect with the list. Okay, noted.
So is
So
that,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So is there a list called no
No, 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 no.
because I
It
mean it
just
would have to gone somewhere. So the question is, where did it go? What list is it
general,
attached to?
general. It went to the general contact section by default. Your main repertoire.
Okay, so there's absolutely no list attached to that. Okay, yeah, it's
No,
on
yeah.
zero.
Basically, it appeared here. The submission that I was making appeared here, but basically didn't trigger the creation of the list. Go ahead, Arba.
So, to continue that, how would we, okay, you know how with the filter, you can search for a specific list or whatever. Is there a way to search for the zero? Like right there, zero means that they're not on any list.
List.
Is
Exactly.
there a way to search for contacts that are not on a list?
Um, well, the short answer to that would be basically well going through it manually because I don't see a filter here with that option.
Right. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking for.
Mhm.
And I guess that would have to be submitted to support is a way to filter by contacts that are not on a list.
Absolutely. With enough, again, as we discussed, with enough requests in that direction with support, they basically will most likely look to that update sooner than later. That would be the inquiry. I'm definitely going to raise the conversation that we have and see when this happened. Go ahead, Robert. And definitely for any of these changes that we're discussing, if these matter to you, definitely make a note to support via email, request these upgrades, and with the amount of mounting requests, most likely we will see these updates come through. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, I hope I can simplify this. First off, you didn't do anything wrong, Virgil. You did just fine.
Mhm. Yeah,
In essence, we did answer Howard's question as well. Yeah, we went down this roller coaster and stuff. But the key thing to remember here is if you delete the list, you don't delete the contact. That's number one. Secondly, if you have somebody in your CRM, technically they're on a list, they're in your CRM. What is the need of finding somebody that is not on a list? I would ask myself. And then, secondly, couldn't you just go into that contact and put them on what list that you want? I feel like a lot of this is people just overthinking and overcomplicating things. And I can understand that, especially like for Howard, if you've been here for a while, you've got all those lists. Man, simplify your life. Get rid of some of those lists. You still have the contacts, put them on a new list. Like, don't make it harder for
yeah.
yourself, is what I'm getting at. But
And I think not only are you absolutely right on that point, because sometimes we're overthinking the process. I think because we're missing this last part here, right? I was trying to come to this because in the end, all these questions that we're asking ourselves have to do with the direct client interaction, right? If I'm looking for a specific client, is because I most likely have received a conversation from him or have their name highlighted on my board. So we can filter by name, but more importantly, when we're using the tool properly, first thing first, as we are tracking the interaction that we have with our clients, we're building these type of conversation here. This is important, the notes. Because, for example, if I'm looking for a specific client, is to take specific action. And this is basically where managing your client relationship would come in. Tracking where, when in time they came into the system would allow you to see, okay, well, this is when this person came in. There is the history as well of interaction, right? As you interact with the different tools here, because one of the things about having the client into your CRM is following up with these different tools. And this allows you also to see where the client is. If I'm sending you an email campaign, I'm aiming you at opting into a specific list, right? So these are the action that we're taking here. So if ever even I came in or lost a client, or lost the trail of conversation that I was having with the client. It's the overall use of those tools that are important, the history, the note, and what we do also with the rotation and follow up. This usually will allow us to track whatever is happening as soon as we are opening here, right? This is where we're tracking most of our conversation. Of course, with 7,000 people, if I come here, I'm looking for somebody specific. If not, if I'm acting on a marketing asset, this is when I'm looking at the list and what asset are tied to it. I think, Arba, you had your hand raised first, and then I'll take Howard as a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify,
Mhm,
so I had a list that was created from a landing page
mhm,
from a training that I
mhm.
did. And well, people signed up for the training. And then
Okay.
I did a different training, but I wanted to contact those same people that were on the list. That was when I mistakenly deleted that list. Okay. So
Mhm,
then that meant that now they were all at zero. So thankfully, I had emails, but it was a task. I had to go through and find each of those people that were on that other landing page for that class and put them in another list. So that's why I was inquiring if there is a way, because you would know, just like you showed here, if you mistakenly deleted a list, they would all be on zero. But I
mhm.
want to specifically contact those people to invite them to the second workshop.
Workshop. Definitely, at that point, we are forced to look at workarounds. The looking at the email part was actually what I was thinking, in a sense that if we're emailing from the tool a series of people with a specific subject line that lines up with the invitation to join into an event or whatnot, then one of the simplest process to see who we email would be looking back at that email inbox, looking at that subject, and that would pull everybody that is in relation to that subject, and that will allow us to recreate that list with ease. It does require a few stages. The key point is, in all case scenario, don't erase those lists if they're tied to marketing assets, right? And that way we don't have to open that can of worm. I didn't expect to open that one, I tell you. Go ahead, Robert.
Or Howard, I think. You know
Howard, sorry.
what I'm just trying to use the product is what I'm
Yep.
trying to. And so I run into this stuff when I'm trying to use the product. And in my world or my belief, and the reason I bought into NowSite so many
Mm-hmm.
years ago was it was supposed to make my life easier, not make it so I have to do a whole bunch of manual work to make the software work. Okay. The software should be doing all that for me. So just like on the screen now where it says contacts and the first box under that says search contact. That would be so wonderful to have that on the list page, search list. And I have probably 400 landing pages, okay, which means I have, and I might have more than that, which means I have 400 lists, okay,
Mhm.
and I don't make them because I don't want them. I make them because I want them, okay. But then I've got to search for a list maybe that I made 3 years ago. Well, that's probably on page 22, but I'm not sure.
I, I,
So it's just to make work project for me. Anyway, I did put into support, ask for a way to search lists. If everybody else would do that, that would be great. But anyway, I'm
absolutely.
just, was hoping that you would be able to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong, I guess, because what you're telling me is what I'm experiencing is how it is.
No, exactly. You're
And no
not
problem.
wrong.
Yeah, no
That-
problem.
You're not wrong. Absolutely not. But there's also um, a balance that we have to account for, right? Because you did sometimes we you're able to create 400 and plus websites. You're able to put in together 400 and plus marketing assets and strategy, right? We cannot deny the fact that the tool has definitely honored his promise, making
I'm
things
not saying it
easier,
hasn't,
right?
but I'm just saying it would be so much easier because what I wind up doing now is I have to have a separate CRM away from NowSite because I
Mhm.
can't keep up with this stuff. Okay, in order for it make it work for me and really save me a whole bunch of time, I have to have a separate CRM where I can do all this stuff. Okay, and I don't want to do
Definitely.
that. I want to do it here.
I
Okay,
then definitely
solve that
understand the
problem.
fact that, yeah, it would create, depending on the usage that you, first of all, thank you for putting this up. It's important that we share. And yes, you're at a level of usage that requires you maybe more active tool depending on your strategy, because it also has to do with certain things or how we build our strategy, right? In the end, what we are discussing here is maybe what is to come. The idea is that we are discussing a part of the tool, and NowSite has created a whole flow around these tools. This is what makes the process easier. Technology moves at a certain pace, not always at the pace that we want, or the tool doing things that align with our strategy. This is why also we're forced to have many tools that we can rely on. Definitely the tool that you're using for now for your CRM, or as far as the CRM is concerned, definitely will give you added value that we don't have, just as much as the tool that you're using. We will have added value that they don't have. It's a give or take, depending on the volume and the tenure that you have in this business. Because it's normal. After
Yeah,
a
no, so
while, it's normal to accumulate a number of platform assets contact. Thus, the need to periodically also revise how we
the
administrate
whole
all
deal
that.
should be that we can move them into more NowSite products by making it easier for them to do it instead of creating a whole bunch of manual work for them. And that would be, where we want to do the posting, but also they should be buying in to the landing pages or the websites and whatnot. And so this is, if they buy into that,
Absolutely.
and that's where they're going to run into these issues, and it would be very good if we could deal with it.
No,
So this is,
absolutely. I agree with you. And this is also where I position it a little bit in perspective is you have a tenure, you have experience when onboarding these people. There are certain tips, do or don't, that you will put forward to actually anchor that efficient work system that will just keep on improving with the tools, right? This is also the value that we bring in as experienced users to those who are new, right? The fact is that if you contain the way you work, depending if you need volume of website that you're still using even 3 years after, then this is a different question. It's a different level of use. If you have clients that are not moving, but when you're starting at the beginning, there are good foundational things that you have to do, and that will allow you to use the tool efficiency without necessarily having these extra tools. One of the things that we want to be able to do also in this environment is adapt to the tools that we have. Often enough, we're required to, right? The tools doesn't necessarily always will adapt to our strategy. You always have the option as you're doing of seeking out more tools, but definitely understanding the limitation of the one that you have, working within that box at least would allow you to think outside the box if need be. So definitely there's a give or take here. And again, we're talking about things that are constantly improving. It's not the final stage, I would say, of NowSite. Nobody that has been with NowSite over the past year can say that there's always a new stage. And to tip the scale in those direction, definitely follow the route. If enough of us make the request to have these tools, then they weigh into the balance, right? It's also about the use of the majority. And these are particular things that, yes, we come into over time. Make sense?
yeah, I hear you. And also earlier you were saying that you could download the contacts into a Excel sheet and upload them again. But you
Hmm.
can't do that in NowSite. Okay, if the contacts came through NowSite, they're not.
Yes,
You can't get them out of NowSite, so you can't do that, right?
absolutely. Yeah. If you have acquired the contact through NowSite, meaning the prospecting tool, these don't belong to you.
Yeah.
If you have acquired them through marketing assets or have uploaded them, they belong to you. You can download them back. Okay, so that's the difference here. Whatever is generated directly for the platform, you won't be able to download. But again, this is such a gray line because you cannot download it. But if you have an interaction with this person and you build that bond and they end up on a different asset, well, you can bring them back with additional information, and that becomes a contact that you can upload and download, right? So it's what happens after the client ends up in your CRM that makes or break the relationship. Thus, again, the idea of the importance of understanding the deeper ramification of what is happening here, right? When you choose to email them, when you choose to SMS them, when you choose to message them, when you're tracking this history, going over notes, this allows us to actually come to terms with most of the question that we're having. When did we when did we initially acquire him? What is the process or the prospect journey that we have gone through with them to the point where we're now looking at adding or removing? I think this is where all the conversation ends up because we're talking about lists, yes, but in the end, we're not marketing to those lists. We're marketing to each individuals in this list, and it's that relationship that you're tracking, right? So more importantly, how you're using these tools, right? We should be, if you're using these tools effectively, for example, when you're messaging them and using the tracking link, you get these notifications. If you're using the email campaign and you're sending them trying to opt them into a list, then you're tracking these opting in that list, right? So usually what we are looking at achieving when we come here looking for contact is what we have created and documented using these process. We know that the sales flow will give us, for example, a course of action to follow. Okay, based on what we are doing, we are going to create notes that are going to remain here. I have a client who actually doesn't contact people directly here, but finds a way to message them and get into vocal conversation with them. What does she do? She comes back and track these conversation here. So we don't see the history of the messaging, but she has those notes here. So if you're actively using all these tools, all these questions, because you come into your CRM with the client's name. And once you have that, this allows you to pull that profile. And from there, you can move them across or reassign them across any list, but you are managing that relationship. Okay. We definitely had a passionate exchange, I would say, today. I'm going to go over the things, the stones that were left unturned, see if these questions that we asked today are on the table. Can't promise I will have final answers, but I'll inquire and see. But definitely to that, in that direction, if you're trying to see changes happen fast on our site, then make a note of the functionalities. Enough requests will tip the scale most likely in favor of these changes or add-ons. Make sense? Questions before we leave? Give another 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Perfect, perfect. So I'll come back tomorrow again with this conversation and when this took place, because it is definitely something that could impact. But again, that said, now that we know, be careful about erasing your marketing assets that are tied to list. Go ahead, Isha.
I was gonna tell Howard to check the chat. I put a workaround in there for him.
Perfect, perfect. Actually, maybe you will share it next time tomorrow so we can all benefit from it. Aha, if you start sharing, you have to share with the whole of the community, Keisha. You can't just share in the chat. So definitely tomorrow.
Well, I try not to pull people out of NowSite whenever possible. It's make that.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you're right, well, look, we're not pulling people out of NowSite. If Howard is a power user and requires a higher level of tool, we can recommend what we're using. It's not a bad thing. We're not speaking against the tool, just like saying, well, we shouldn't talk about Canva here. That's not the case. Okay. So it's a good recommendation if it works. If it suits your need, then you have value from this conversation. And that's the most important thing, solutions. Good.
Yeah, so I was just trying not to disrespect the group. So,
Oh, thank you
but
very
yeah,
much for that.
Make.com, you can automate you can literally use it as a stitch to stitch other apps together. But it's really almost copy and paste easy to do that. It's not for your beginner, but it's definitely for
Yeah.
somebody that's intermediate can handle it. And
Yeah, I was about to say.
there's a ton of training.
Okay, good. Because about to say, putting together a platform can sometimes be tedious, but or daunting, I would say. But when you want, you can, right? Where there's a will, there's a way, especially if there's a lot of information.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
that's something that's definitely for somebody who's more advanced in whatever they were doing. For your beginners, make.com is just a colossal waste of your time. It's not a good um way of using the platform. But if you're somebody who's doing thousands and thousands of contacts and being able to, having to use outside CRMs, make.com is a good way to pull those assets in and out seamlessly to where one
perfect,
trigger can then get everything else going.
perfect. So definitely, we'll stop at that. If you want to discover, go discover. But we will stop at that for now. And again, it's a higher tier of tool. Uh, Only crossover tool and something else if you have mastered the tools that we offer, right? Because often enough, this is the big issue. We pile up things thinking that we need them, but that we haven't even uh, made full use of what we have discussed today, right? The problem that we discussed today around the email or the list is only for somebody that has been in this network marketing over years, right? So be careful with that. And you always find your way within that environment once you grow professionally. Okay, so we went in every direction today. It's great. And tomorrow we'll do more. I'll try to see if I get answers on the question or the points that were raised today. And definitely lesson learned for what we have covered today. I hope for everybody, including me, don't delete your website list if they are actively being used. Okay? Perfect. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Virgil. Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.